Another area that D&D Online really seeks to distinguish itself is in its combat system. Instead of a watch and wait combat system, it's really much more of an active visual experience in which as you click, you can attack. D&D Online is at its heart a much more tactical and strategical experience in terms of its combat than many other systems. Often players who come into the game fresh from a typical MMP will rush blindly ahead, seeking to conquer the dungeon by sheer force. D&D players will learn that really relying on the strengths of the group, so having the rogue doing searches for traps, protecting the mages in careful combat, all of these will lead to greater success over the course of the dungeon than just typically running blindly ahead. In many adventures, there's what we call DM text that briefly flashes across the screen to give you some context or story clue about the dungeon. That, of course, up ahead is one of the most feared monsters in all the game, the Rust monster, which can quickly lead to your items disappearing rapidly when you engage in melee combat with it. Another part of the main combat challenge in D&D Online is each of the monsters typically has a main gimmick or behavior that you have to confront. And so when we combine different monster types, so in this case, the spiders who can web you and leap upon you, the rust monster that can quickly wear away your items, it's often much more challenging to fight this combination of monsters in a space than it is to fight numerous single instances of the same creature. One of the other things that characters will often find as they travel through the dungeons are different types of collectible items. So here, for example, from the alchemy table, they find a different type of item that once they collect it enough times, they can go up to the city and turn it into an NPC for a reward. This is in addition to the treasure chests and also the loot that you'll often find from breaking open barrels and crates you'll find in the dungeons. Another element of D&D Online that we really wanted to try to promote was this element of surprise. So often we'll have monsters enter into the scenes in atypical fashions. There are a number of different elements in the dungeon that often will catch players unaware. There are also outdoor spaces to explore and adventure in within the outskirts of Stormreach. This quest is one to prevent at least 200 kobolds who are coming to attack one of the outposts of Stormreach. On the whole, even with our outdoor spaces, we didn't want that completely endless landscape feel of confusion and having players get lost. That is a typical example in so many other MMPs. We still want the spaces to be conducive to the adventure and having fun. When you die, you have a few options in the dungeon or the adventure. Every time you die, you drop a soul stone, and players players in your group can take that soul stone to a resurrection shrine, and you can use that resurrection shrine to be brought back to life. You're tied to within 10 meters of your soul stone, so if you get too far away from it, you'll teleport back there, as is about to happen to this poor deceased cleric right here. The marketplace is the next ward in the city of Stormreach that you come to after you conquered the harbor. This is the hub, not just of Stormreach's commerce. So up ahead, for example, is the Great Bazaar, in which a number of Stormreach vendors congregate and will become a natural grouping point for players. So here, vendors of all types congregate and sell and buy different types of wares from players. There are also other types of shops in Stormreach called pawn shops. These types of shops, which can typically only be found in the higher level wards, are actually keep around items that players sell to them. So if you want to try to find and buy treasure that other players have picked up from dungeons, you would be able to do so in a pawn shop.